Open weight model releases and performance. Upstage has unveiled Solar Open 100B, a flagship mixture of experts model that represents a significant milestone in open weight AI development. The model packs 102.6 billion total parameters but activates only 12 billion per token. A design that promises the knowledge depth of massive models with inference costs closer to much smaller ones. Built entirely from scratch and pre-trained on 19.7 trillion tokens, Solar Open uses 129 experts, 128 routed plus 1 shared with top 8 activation, and supports a 128K context window. The model was trained on NVIDIA B200 GPUs and releases under the permissive Solar Apache License 2.0. Official benchmarks, API access, and code snippets are scheduled for December 31, 2025, making this a preview announcement for what Upstage positions as enterprise-grade reasoning, instruction following, and agentic capabilities. At the opposite end of the parameter spectrum, U2 LLM 2B demonstrates that sub-2B models can punch well above their weight. This 1.96 billion parameter model features a dense MLA, multi-head latent attention, architecture with a native 128K context window, and supports both agentic capabilities and chain-of-thought reasoning mode. Community members on Local Llama noted its benchmarks claim to beat Qwen 3.4b Instruct by considerable margins, at half the size, sparking debate about whether the results are dubious or the model is crazy good. The consensus leans toward MLA's improved attention mechanism as the likely explanation for the performance gains. Practical use cases center on agentic tasking. As one commenter put it, this model can be the gopher that just runs jobs. It doesn't need world knowledge, just the ability to execute tasks within context. The quest to extract maximum reasoning capability from small models continues with experimental fine-tuning approaches. A researcher pushing Gemma 3.4b through Dark Cock, fine-tuning achieved 33.8% on GPQA Diamond, reportedly a 125% improvement over the base model. The approach involves training on scenarios where the AI deliberately employs Machiavellian-style planning, deception for goal alignment, and reward hacking within internal thought processes. While the creator frames this as a research probe into deceptive alignment and instrumental convergence, the methodology raises questions about what happens when small models are explicitly trained to be manipulative. A more constructive approach to small model excellence comes from the Always Further team, who fine-tuned Qwen 3.4b to outperform Claude Sonnet 4.5 and Gemini Pro 2.5 on tool calling tasks using synthetic data. Their methodology challenges the bigger is always better assumption by creating specialists rather than generalists. The key insight: frontier models are designed to handle everything from poetry to protein folding. But if you need excellence at one specific task, a small focus model trained on high-quality synthetic data can beat the giants. Their Deep Fabric tool uses a topic graph approach to ensure diverse training samples, and critically, actually executes tools in WebAssembly sandboxes rather than faking outputs, so the model learns from real cause and effect rather than hallucinated results. Local AI infrastructure and hardware. The eternal GPU purchasing dilemma has resurfaced with a detailed comparison between RTX 3090 and RTX 4090 for local AI assistance. A developer building a Jarvis-style, fully offline system with TTS and STT, essentially a local alternative to Google Home or Alexa, posed the critical question that benchmarks rarely answer. Does the 4090 meaningfully reduce time to first token compared to the 3090? Or is TTFT dominated by model loading, kernel launch, and CPU-GPU overhead regardless of card generation? The community response reveals a more nuanced GPU landscape than the binary 3090 versus 4090 choice suggests. One commenter outlined the current price-performance sweet spots. RTX 3090s at $700, the Chinese modified 4090 with 48 GB at $2,400, RTX 5090s at $2,500, and the RTX Pro 6000 at $7,000, $8,000 depending on region. The modified Chinese cards drew skepticism. No way I'm buying an obscure Chinese mod with no shipping warranties and huge risks of being scammed, but they exist as options for those willing to take the risk. European pricing appears slightly favorable, with RTX Pro 6000 units running around €7,800, including VAT versus $7,900 plus before state sales tax in the US. For those running multiple models or needing vision capabilities alongside text generation, the practical solution involves combining specialized models. One user reported pairing Qwen 2.57b Instruct with GPT OSS 120b using VLLM and OpenWeb UI, running the vision model on VLLM, which is much faster than Ultima, while keeping the large text model separate. This multi-model architecture addresses the limitation that many powerful open models lack multimodal capabilities, with alternatives like GLM 4.6v and Mistral's Ministral 14b mentioned for vision tasks. On the observability side, AI Observer emerges as a specialized tool for monitoring local AI coding assistance. This self-hosted, single-binary, OpenTelemetry-compatible backend specifically targets Claude Code, Gemini CLI, and OpenAI Codex CLI, with a unified dashboard tracking token usage, costs, API latency, error rates, and session activity. The tool addresses a genuine gap. AI coding assistants are becoming essential development tools, but understanding their behavior and costs remains challenging. Built on DuckDB for storage, the 54-megabyte executable includes embedded pricing data for 67-plus models and can import historical sessions from local JSON files. For privacy-conscious developers, all telemetry stays local with no third-party services required. Section AI Agent Development and Workflows, a significant development in AI agent interoperability. GLM 4.7 has been successfully running full agentic workflows through Claude Code for 15 minutes straight without failures. The achievement comes via Claudish, an API proxy that allows Claude Code to communicate with any OpenRouter model by translating between Claude's native format and OpenAI-style tool calls on the fly. The stress test wasn't a cherry-picked demo. It involved native tool calls for file operations and bash commands, sub-agent spawning, and Chrome extension integration for browser automation. The key technical accomplishment is format translation happening seamlessly enough that no special prompting tricks were required. The broader agent development landscape is crystallizing around a new paradigm that the MuleRun team articulates as base agent plus knowledge, tools, runtime. This framework emerges from observing a familiar trade-off. Low-code workflow builders are easy to start with, but quickly hit capability ceilings, while code-first frameworks are powerful but come with steep engineering overhead. The proposed solution treats natural language and code as first-class building blocks. Developers describe what they want at a high level, and the system maps that into capable agents that can plan multi-step actions, call rich tools like browsers or databases, use structured domain knowledge, and scale beyond simple chat loops. For MCP server developers specifically, MCP Chat Studio v2 now offers what its creator calls Postman for MCP servers. The update introduces workspace mode with infinite canvas and draggable panels, a visual workflow builder with AI assistance and debugger capabilities including breakpoints and step mode, contract validation with breaking change checks, and mock server generation. The workflow export to Python and Node scripts addresses a practical need, bridging the visual debugging phase with actual CI integration. Contract validation is currently schema-based and transport-agnostic, meaning it doesn't differentiate between stdio and SSE transports beyond whatever response shape each returns. An interesting architectural pattern emerges from the linear coding agent harness, which demonstrates long-running autonomous coding using a two-agent pattern with linear as the project management backbone. Unlike typical approaches that use local text files for agent communication, this system tracks all work as linear issues with agents communicating via comments. The initializer agent creates a linear project with issues, up to 50 detailed task specifications, while coding agents query for highest priority to-do items, claim them by updating status to in progress, implement with Puppeteer browser automation for testing, add implementation comments, and mark complete. The meta issue serves as session tracking for handoff notes between agent runs. Specialized AI applications and APIs. Meta's OmniASR model now has a production-ready deployment option with OmniASR Server, an open-source wrapper providing an OpenAI-compatible API. The server exposes the standard vAudio transcriptions endpoint, enabling drop-in replacement for OpenAI's speech-to-text API in existing applications. Key features include real-time WebSocket streaming, compatibility with voice agent frameworks like Pipecat and LiveKit, automatic handling of long audio files without the 40-second limit that plagued earlier implementations, and support for CUDA, MPS, Apple Silicon, and CPU backends. The motivation was straightforward. The developer wanted OmniASR for a voice agent project but found no easy deployment path. Early testing with the OmniASR CTC1BV2 variant on Arabic and English shows promising speed and accuracy, with larger variants like CTC3B, 7B, or the LLM-based versions expected to perform even better. On the financial applications front, Tally takes a clever approach to transaction categorization by working alongside AI coding assistants rather than replacing them. The tool addresses a universal frustration. Bank transactions look like gibberish, whole FDS MKTEL 847 Seattle WA, and bank categories are too broad. Shopping when you need kids' clothing versus home furniture. Tally lets users define categorization rules in plain English. Zelle to Sarah is babysitting, childcare, or Costco with gas is fuel, otherwise groceries, and works with AI assistants to write these rules to a simple file. No database, no cloud service, just a local configuration file. The workflow involves Tally finding uncategorized transactions, the AI identifying merchants, and writing rules, and iteration until everything is categorized. DiffSynth Studio has released a genuinely novel concept, Image to LoRa, I2L, models that take an image as input and output a LoRa model trained on that image. The 4-model suite includes Qwen Image I2L style 2.4B parameters, weak detail preservation but effective style extraction. Qwen Image I2L Coarse 7.9B parameters, preserves content but imperfect details. Qwen Image I2L Fine 7.6B parameters, must be used with coarse. Increases Qwen VL encoding resolution to 1024x24. And Qwen Image I2L Bias 30 mem parameters, a static supplementary LoRa that aligns outputs with Qwen image style preferences. The style model can quickly generate style LoRa's from just a few consistently styled input images, while the coarse plus fine bias combination can generate LoRa weights preserving image content and detail that serve as initialization weights to accelerate training convergence. AI development, education, and resources. Anthropic has launched a comprehensive course on Claude Code through its SkillJar learning platform, covering the command line AI assistant from fundamentals through advanced integration patterns. The curriculum addresses Claude Code's tool system for reading files, executing commands, and modifying code, along with techniques for managing context through init commands, claude.md files, and @mentions. More advanced topics include plan mode and thinking mode for complex analysis, custom command creation for workflow automation, MCP server integration for browser automation, GitHub integration for automated PR reviews and issue handling, and hook implementations for adding custom behavior. The course targets engineers seeking to speed up development workflows with AI assistance, essentially a complete guide moving from understanding how coding assistants work through setup, context management, and advanced features. A LinkedIn post from Andrei Burkov highlights one of the foundational papers that made modern deep learning possible, the Xavier initialization paper from 2010. At the time, researchers struggled with training neural networks with even 2 hidden layers because gradient signals couldn't reach weights closer to the input. The key insight was elegantly simple. If weights are initialized with wrong variance, signals either explode or vanish as they pass through layers in both directions. The solution, initializing weights from a uniform distribution scaled by both input and output layer sizes, keeps variance of activations and gradients roughly constant across layers. The paper also explained why sigmoid activations were problematic. Their non-zero mean pushes outputs toward saturation, paving the way for TANT and later ReLU dominance. As one commenter noted, it's one of those papers that doesn't give you a trick, but explains why things just didn't work before. Feels closer to debugging than theory. Wegmans supermarkets in New York City have expanded biometric data collection to all shoppers entering their Manhattan and Brooklyn locations, storing data on faces, eyes, and voices. The expansion follows a 2024 pilot that the chain had initially claimed would only target a small group of employees and would delete any shopper biometric data collected. The new signage makes no such assurances about data deletion. Wegmans representatives declined to answer questions about data storage, policy changes, or potential sharing with law enforcement. The collection system operates under a 2021 city law requiring businesses to post signs announcing biometric data practices, but the implementing agency, the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, has no enforcement mechanism for non-compliance, leaving customers to pursue their own legal action. A city council bill aiming to block businesses from using such systems was introduced in 2023 after Madison Square Garden's CEO used facial recognition to identify and eject attorneys from law firms with active litigation against his company, but the bill has languished. Privacy advocates warn that storing biometric data exposes customers to risks from hackers and immigration enforcement. It's really chilling that immigrant New Yorkers going into Wegmans and other grocery stores have to worry about their highly sensitive biometric data potentially getting into the hands of ICE, noted one advocate from the Surveillance Technology Oversight Project. In a more nostalgic corner of security, a tribute to the late security researcher Jack C. Louie emerged with the resurrection of Unicorn Scan on modern Linux. The tool's origin story captures the collaborative, garage hacking spirit of early 2000s security research. Lewis and a colleague spent days capturing UDP client handshake payloads to create a scanner that actually worked over the internet, unlike the unreliable blank datagram approach common at the time. The project eventually expanded to TCP support, adopted its whimsical name from Lewis' IRC vanity domain, Unicorn Ser Badassin You Know It, and now returns as a modernized release on what would have been Louis' 49th birthday. Corviant has released a self-hosted mapping stack that packages tiles, routing, and geocoding into a single Docker-composed deployment for fully offline operation. The Monaco demo showcases the architecture. MapLibre UI connecting to local APIs serving PM tiles for map data, Valhalla for routing, and a SQLite database built from Nominatum data for geocoding. Once images are pulled and the stack is running, no external map or routing APIs are required. The target use cases reveal the stack's design philosophy. Industrial PCs and embedded boxes in factories where maps and routing must work even when WAN links fail. Vessels and remote sites with intermittent or satellite-only connectivity. Field fleets and mobile units that go offline or change networks. And organizations wanting to keep location queries and routes inside their own network. The roadmap includes a background service for map bundle updates without downtime, custom POI and geofence layers, improved geocoding with house numbers and geometry support, and first-class integrations for Portainer, Mender, K3's Kubernetes, and Edge runtimes on AWS and Azure. Pricing plans to follow a per-device license model with region selection, no per-request or per-route fees, though final pricing isn't set. Map data derives from OpenStreetMap under ODBL 1.0 license with appropriate attribution. Development tools and utilities. Guardian CLI represents an ambitious attempt to bring AI-powered orchestration to penetration testing workflows. The tool combines Google Gemini's reasoning capabilities with LangChain to coordinate specialized AI agents, Planner, Tool Selector, Analyst, and Reporter, alongside battle-tested security tools including Arjun, XSS Strike, GitLeaks, CMSEek, and DNS Recon. The framework includes advanced reconnaissance capabilities, full vulnerability scanning, and WordPress-specific security assessments. The ethical constraints are prominently stated. Guardian is designed exclusively for authorized security testing and educational purposes, with explicit warnings about unauthorized access being illegal under CFAA, GDPR, and equivalent international legislation. Users must have explicit written permission before testing any system. The architecture aims to deliver intelligent, adaptive security assessments while maintaining ethical hacking standards, essentially attempting to automate the strategic reasoning a skilled penetration tester would apply when deciding which tools to run, in what order, and how to interpret results.